Hey everyone, DadGFN here, and this is going to be a rather quick video on something I discovered earlier in the month, and you probably already know what it is from the title. So earlier I was going through the Gravity Falls box set documentary, as you do, and I remembered Alex Hirsch had shown some scrapped episode ideas in it that haven't really been talked about much by fans. Some of these ideas were early drafts of episodes that did happen, like Karaoke, while others were ones that never went further than the page he wrote them on. There were some interesting ideas, like an episode narrated by Mabel, an early plan for a Dipper and Pacifica story, Wendy having the ability to control snails, among other things. But in the midst of it all, I noticed one episode idea that stuck out like a very, very sore thumb. And it was one that Alex had casually said in the doc, but never went into much more detail about. And when I paused the video and read what was written, well, I was surprised. The episode is simply called The Fly, and this is what was written down. Dipper's fly is always down. Turns out, this is caused by the ghost of a kid he always used to mock in elementary school. He's getting what he deserved for tormenting the guy. In order for him to let the curse go, Dipper has to get the ghost what the ghost wants. A date with his sister. Or whatever. Dipper ends up not caring what people think about his fly, and not caring makes him impossible to mock, etc. So, yeah. There's a lot to unpack here. First of all is the episode being about Dipper's fly, which I'm pretty sure you all know what that is, so I'm not going to explain it. Now, believe it or not, the idea of Dipper's fly being down is actually something the show has used for real. Sorta. Back in April of 2012, Disney ran a series of promos for Gravity Falls called The Creature in the Closet. They followed the twins as they tried to get video of, well, a creature in their closet. And take a look what happens in the second promo from this segment.
Alright, hour 2, and the creature that ate my socks still hasn't left the closet.
Dun dun dun!
He could come out any minute. We need to be ready.
Oh my gosh, Dipper!
What?
Your fly is down!
Oh, Mabel!
So yeah, Gravity Falls has technically made Dipper's fly being down a thing that does occur. And this idea was apparently going to explain why. And it's that why where things start to get disturbing. Dipper's fly being down is apparently being caused by the ghost of a kid that he used to mock in elementary school. I mean, there's no other way to put it, but this is basically showing to us that Dipper was in fact a bully, or at the very most, teased other kids. And this paints him into a very different light to what we know Dipper to be. We know from flashbacks that both him and Mabel were bullied as kids. Mabel was picked on in 1st grade, as we saw on Picture Day, and Dipper was laughed out of the room on Valentine's Day in 4th grade for not getting any cards by the whole class, and this jerk.
Zeus, would it be wrong to punch a child?
So we know the twins were picked on in school, and that adds some relatability to them. We all probably have experiences of being bullied, teased, or made fun of in school. I sure as hell did, even up till high school. Kids can be real jerks to each other, especially in middle school. Oh god. Knowing Dipper and Mabel went through similar stuff makes them relatable to us. But by making Dipper be someone who made fun of others, that takes away a lot of that relatability and character in him that we all know and love. It makes Dipper essentially a far less likable character. And I mean, despite the fandom's very obvious bias towards protecting Dipper to almost White Knight levels, I don't think this would have been something as easy to defend him over. Though we all know how GF fans would have been if it was Mabel instead of Dipper here. But my hatred of fandom hypocrisy aside, the fact of the matter is that this concept already is not sounding really good. Dipper's fly being down as the premise is already strange, and then to have us learn that it's a kid that he mocked doing it is even weirder. And that's not even before we discuss the elephant in the room, which is the fact that this kid is a ghost. Meaning he's fucking dead. How did he die? And more worryingly, was Dipper's teasing a factor in it? It's a very disturbing implication that is being made here with this. Of course, and this is really dark to think about, but there are other ways this kid could have died. He could have been in a car accident, fell down a hole, eaten by a bear, ate a tube of superglue. You get the point. This episode idea in itself is super vague, so while it's kinda implying a very dark thing here, we do not have enough material to work with to fully say that outright, when there could be other ways he became a ghost. Not to mention that why would the ghost travel all the way to Gravity Falls with Dipper to mess with him? I mean, the town is a weirdness magnet as we know, so that may be why. But still, it's kinda weird. Why not have a specific ghost within the town itself be behind it? I mean, from how many zombies are buried under the Mystery Shack alone, I think it's safe to say that there's a lot of ghosts in Gravity Falls too, beyond the ones that hate the Northwest family. But that's not the only bad thing about this idea. Remember, what was the ghost asking in exchange to stop bothering Dipper? That's right, a date with his sister. Yeah, this kid apparently had a crush on Mabel, I guess, and wants to date her so to leave Dipper alone. Alongside just the weirdness of dating a ghost, this also has another issue at hand. As we know in Season 1 Episode 4, The Hand That Rocks the Mabel, Gideon was forcing Mabel into going on dates with him, and she was becoming more and more uncomfortable with it, but afraid to tell him off. So, Dipper, seeing how Mabel was, does it for her. He stands up and protects his sister from someone who is being a creep to her. And while there are a lot of loser Mabel haters out there who say this is another case of Dipper doing something for Mabel with no repayment, let me just say this. Fuck you. That scene in many ways is something I respect and admire Dipper for. He didn't care up the risks. He went in and told Gideon off from messing with his sister. Hell, he did that tenfold in Gideon Rises when he beat the shit out of Gideon for trying to kidnap her. As a brother myself, I do the same with that with my sister. And I don't care if I don't gain anything out of it. That's what I love about Dipper. Screw fans who say that he sacrifices too much. He's there for his sister and is fiercely protective of her. That makes him a morally better character than any Mabel hater ever will be. And that, in a sense, is why I don't like this idea. It demolishes all the stuff we have seen Dipper built up into. He's a character who has a kind heart, despite being bullied. And he's protective of his sister, even when he may lose out from doing it. That's because he's a good brother. And this idea tears that entirely apart. Dipper is now a bully, and apparently to get this kid to stop bothering him, now has to have Mabel do something she probably doesn't want to do. Date the ghost to some kid who had a crush on her that she probably didn't want to date for maybe similar reasons to why she didn't like Gideon. Now again, I have to emphasize that this is speculation. We don't know truly if this is how the episode would have played out. And given the last sentence says that Dipper ends up not caring what people think about his fly and not caring makes him impossible to mock, that likely implies he doesn't fulfill the ghost's wishes and just stops caring about it. Maybe it's meant to imply that you don't feel a bully by giving in to them and just ignore them till they stop. Maybe it's a tables have turned type situation and now this kid is bullying Dipper, so he stops caring and soon the kid has no interest in further teasing him because he's no longer getting a reaction from Dipper and thus stops on his own. Either way, it does make Dipper out to be a very different character to what we see him in the show, and without a reason behind why this kid is now a ghost, it does leave a very dark possibility lingering in the air. And believe it or not, this is not even the first time that there's been a Gravity Falls episode idea revealed that would have drastically changed Dipper and made him into a kind of unlikable or harder to root for character. In the box set commentary for Double Dipper, Alex Hirsch revealed that originally the episode was going to be called The Party Monster. And the idea was that Dipper was not really excited for the party at the Mystery Shack, so he comes up with a way to ruin it by summoning monsters. Heck, early plans even had Bill Cipher showing up this early on in the show. While the idea was inspired by Alex's own distaste for parties at Dipper's age, they were having a hard time figuring the episode out. And why was that? Because Dipper was super unlikable. Of course he would. He was trying to ruin everyone else's fun for what? Because he doesn't like parties? It just didn't make sense for him, and rightfully so. The idea was scrapped once they decided to let Dipper be more naive and have his goal be to dance with Wendy instead. And with that, they cracked the episode in an hour. Point is, that this was another case of an episode where Dipper would have done something that makes him hard to root for. No one would side with Dipper if he ruined a party because he hated it by traumatizing everyone with a monster. And as such, no one would side with Dipper if he was being haunted by the ghost of a kid who he mocked in school and who, unless explained to be through another cause, would have horrified fans at the possibility that, well, this kid is a ghost because of him. That's what makes this episode stick out so badly for me. It's implying something so horrible and irredeemable for Dipper. And the scary thing is that the show has actually done this in a way for real. Because in Journal 3, there's a brief bit in which Dipper mentions he feels remorse for letting Powers and Triggers be eaten by zombies. The kid literally thought he aided in killing 2 feds till they came back and not what he seems. It's a very strange situation we got with Dipper. And that's what makes this all so weird for me. Could this episode have worked? I honestly don't think so. I never thought I'd say it, because almost every time we learn about a scrapped GF episode idea, it's actually decent. But this is one that I'm glad did not happen. Heck, I think fans owe Roadside Attraction an apology, as it at least is a fun episode to still watch. From an odd idea like his fly being down, Dipper being a bully, a dead kid's ghost that might hint at something horrifying, and the fact the solution to it would be Mabel having to date someone she probably did not ever wanna, The Fly honestly sounds like it could have been the worst Gravity Falls episode had it happened. And thankfully it didn't. I really don't see any way to salvage this episode idea. Even if you remove one aspect of it, the others are still messed up enough to make it not feel right. But that's TV, I guess. For every Gravity Falls episode that we saw finished, there's possibly 10 or more scrapped episode ideas that never went anywhere. Thankfully, the crew was smart enough to know that and realize this was a terrible idea. Better left to the archives. But with that said, we're at the end of this video and, well, I got nothing else to say. Thank you for watching and bye.